Live streaming is on.
Great. Well, I'm sure I have it running now. So, greetings and welcome to Stunthangar Video Hangouts. My name is Charles Carter, and I will be your host this evening. And here at the Stunthangar Video Hangouts, we talk about building and flying model airplanes, sport flying, competition flying. We do show and tells, and also what have you done in your shop or at the flying field lately, or whatever flips your boat. To join our conversation, if you are already a member of Stunt Hanger Video, excuse me, if you are already a member of Stunt Hanger Forum, you can find the link if you scroll down to the section called At the Bench. And if you're not a member, please register at stunthanger.com. When you register, you must place a space between your real first and last name when you register. And you must also use a valid email address or Sparky will not approve you. One second here. Make sure I got the chat coming up. Just a second. Where am I at here? Okay. Just a second. Technical difficulties here. Okay. Come on, where's the chat box? It's where you left it, Charles. There it is. Okay. So, anyways, what we ask is that you keep it family room friendly. In other words, don't say anything you wouldn't say around your children or grandchildren. And we also would like to encourage you to subscribe. If you're not already a subscription on YouTube channel, please subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And also give us a like. And if you really find the information that we provide here informative and entertaining, uh, we would love for you to become a member. We have YouTube memberships that are $4.99 a month, which is less than 17 cents a day. And Sparky has building videos on pretty much every aspect of from start, inception to completion. And just by watching his videos, I mean, I have improved immensely my knowledge and expertise. And I'm sure if you watch it too, you'll at least see one way of doing it. And Sparky will be the first to tell you that his way is not the only way. It's just what works for him. And it's a great opportunity for you to learn how to build airplanes. We also, with your membership, the YouTube membership I'm talking about, you get special badges and you have access to replay of these member only videos. There's special videos that Sparky has set aside that are only available for members only. And once a month, he has a question and answer video where you can ask him questions. You can get clarification on how to do this or how to do that regarding building model airplanes. So the link that is available for you to get in, I'm going to post that right now, and that'll hopefully bring in some friends and hopefully some new guests. If you're out there, if you enjoy just watching it on YouTube, that is fine. But if you want to be part of the show, make your comments and questions in the chat box, and I will do my darndest to make you part of the show. I really try to make sure the questions or comments you guys have are part of the show. Now, it does sometimes take me a while to get a word in. We have like 10, 11, 12 people sometimes, and it's not easy to get your word in. So be patient. I will get your comment or question in there. So let me see. I heard someone come in. Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Hi, Charles. I'm doing good.
Good. I had a couple of thumbnails of your Flight Streak construction series coming up on my home feed, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. The last one I saw, it showed an image. The thumbnail showed the molded leading edge of the wing in one hand and the wing in the other hand. And I was really intrigued to watch it, but I ran out of time. But
yeah, all I did is instead of making a mold buck, I just wrapped wax paper around the leading edge of the wing, wetted the balsa, and then molded it right on the wing, and then let it dry overnight.
So did you wrap the wing? Did you wrap that leading edge around the wing too, or how did you get it to adhere to that shape?
I used those things I guess they're called tourniquets they put on your arm when they take blood,
Yeah.
those rubber straps. I had
Right.
a friend that gave me a bunch of those, and I used those to hold it around, and I just put it where the ribs were so it wouldn't crush the balsa.
Very good. Yeah, there's more
It
than one
worked
way
really
to
well.
there's more than one way to do something. And I was just saying
Yeah,
in my introduction that it doesn't have to be the way Sparky does things. He'll be the first one to say that this is what works for him. But there's a lot of ways to do this.
exactly.
Hey, John, and hey, Gary. Thanks for coming in, you guys.
Hey,
I really appreciate it.
good to be here.
Um, I have something that we talked about on Friday, the moment arms. I have uh, some stuff to share about that if you want to do that now.
Absolutely. That is, I was looking for, I did do a Google search. I tried some of the moments. I tried some in the moments. I tried weight and balance. And I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for.
Let me share this. Hang on 1 second. Is that coming up?
Yeah, I see like a Cessna looks like, or something like that. Low wing though.
Piper.
Yeah,
Piper.
it's a
There we go.
Piper. But it's the same. This is for a full size plane, but it'd be the same for a model as a full size plane. Now, on certified aircraft, the datum line may be somewhere different than it's shown on this particular plane. And the datum, where the datum is not really that important because, um, you just have to have a reference where you can measure everything from. And so sometimes the datum is like, for instance, at the leading edge of the wing, but then you have to use negative numbers. So when I do it, I like to do it like this, where all your numbers are positive. Then you don't
All
have to
right.
worry about negative numbers. And so the datum in this case is at the spinner, at the front of the spinner.
Right.
It happens to be 78.4 inches from the leading edge of the wing.
All right.
And so what you do is on a full-size aircraft, what you do is you normally have 3 sets of scales, and you put the wheels on three scales so you can weigh. Um, you have the weight of each of the 3 wheels, and so this is your initial center of gravity calculation. So you take the weight at each wheel times the arm, which is for like the front wheel, the nose wheel, it's
Okay.
that A dimension, which
Okay.
happens to be on this plane 35.9 inches.
Alrighty.
And then you take the weight times the arm at the rear wheels, the main wheels, which is the B dimension, 109.7 inches.
Okay.
And then you sum all of those. You sum all the moments and you sum all the weights. And then
All
you
right.
take the total of all the moments and divide it by the total weight, and that gives you the distance for the CG.
Okay.
And so if you have items in your plane that you want to locate at different locations, then you can use this same method to figure that out.
Interesting.
But anyway, I just thought I'd share that. It's kind of hard to just explain that kind of stuff right off the top of your head, but if you have a diagram or something to actually look at, then it makes it a little easier.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Well,
So
Tom,
Go
So
ahead, John.
I can see how that would work for a full-size aircraft, where you're not worrying about the weight of the stab in the elevator, not you're not worrying anything about the back. You're just trying to trying to figure for the nose area for the front. But the way I was taught to do it, you take the length divided okay, you take the weight and you divide that. Make sure I got this. Take the weight and you multiply that times the distance from the CG. So you're dealing with the CG where the plane is designed to balance. So you take the distance. Say, for instance, you got a 1 1/4 ounce spinner, and it's 11 inches, 11.5 inches from the CG. So that is one of your weights and balances. And you're dealing with a positive number because you're dealing on the. You go with the way you do negative. You don't do negative numbers. You subtract or either you subtract or add, depending on which side of the CG you're measuring. So, for instance, that's why it's called summing the moments, because you're taking the moments, you're multiplying them, then you add. Say the next one, your motor weighs say you got a OS 46 VF, so your motor weighs 12 ounces, okay, and that is 9.5 inches from the CG center to mass. So you 9.5 times the let's say 9.5. Well, anyway, you get the idea. So you're summing them, and then or you're multiplying them, and then you're adding them, and you work this till you get the number keeps growing because you're adding them. So the way I do it is I set up a chart, not a chart, but a line. I've got all of the estimate, because I'm doing it while I'm designing, so I have to estimate the weights. Some of mine get pretty exact, like the weight of the motor, spinner, wheels, and things like that. But you set this out on this line, and you put, to help you keep track of it, you label them underneath the line what they are, and then each one is plus plus, stay going from the front of the airplane to the CG. Each sum, after you get it all done, X times Y, and then you got Z times C, but you got X plus Y, Z times C, and then you add them all together, and you get a number, okay? Then you go behind or the other side of the CG, doing the same thing, but instead of now adding them together, you're subtracting them together. So you can then, as you go along, this number you got here is going to get smaller and smaller. And what you want is that if you want it to come out to 0, so that all of the numbers balance when they come out to 0. So if they don't come out to 0, then you know how much weight, and you can figure how much moment arm you have to get that weight one side or the other. And that's how you figure out what kind of weight it's going to take to balance the aircraft. And if you don't have the aircraft right in front of you, if you're designing it, you've got to do a lot of this way, because you don't have the stab and elevator weight. So you have to estimate what it's going to be based on your best. And most of us have built a few of them, got a pretty good idea what a stab and elevator is going to weigh, what a rudder is going to weigh. You can take the fuselage, and you can figure, like most fuselages without anything in them, they're just the fuselage is a bare shell, and that will come out between 9 and 11 inches with the mounts and everything else in it. And so you figure, what I do is I'll figure, okay, that's the weight, and the distance that fuselage is going to be from the nose to the balance point is going to be, for instance, let's just say it's 20% of all of the weight of that fuselage. So now you know that 20% of that, let's just make it easy for my head, 10 ounces of fuselage weight, 20% of that's going to be, uh, uh, 8 ounces is going to be in the back, 10 ounces in the 2 ounces in the front. Okay. So, that you then go to the center of mass, and that's the distance for that amount of weight just for the bare fuselage. You figure the more numbers you can get, the more distances and sums that you can get, the more accurate you're going to be. And so the goal is the length or the distance times the weight plus the distance sub 1 times the length plus the distance sub 3. Distance sub 3 plus until you get to the CG, and then it's the same formula, but now it's minus each one of them, and that's summing the moments.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
We are.
The only difference is in this diagram, the datum is up near the spinner instead of at the CG. But no matter where that datum is, it's calculated the same.
Well, yeah, but you're not designing that airplane, so you're not taking into account the weight of the aft end of the fuselage, the stab, the elevator, the rudder, the vertical stabilizer. You're not taking that into consideration, and that's what you need to know if you're trying to design one. You need to kind of try to figure out what you got to have so you don't have to put 4 ounces of lead in the nose.
Sure, I understand. It's the principle. It's the same principle.
It is.
The only difference is you have a lot more things that you're weighing and
right. So you're dealing with it.
But also in full-size aircraft, you do a weight and balance with, passengers, equipment, fuel, and all of those things, which is very similar to this.
Right.
They just have different moments depending, you have to the seat instead of to the wheel and to where the fuel tank is located.
But you're dealing with an aircraft that's already built and designed, and so they've got it. You don't have to bring into the concept of how much these various components weigh and where they're placed.
Yeah. And well, you do it if it's an experimental aircraft like I built, then you still have to do all that. And
that's true.
You have to calculate the whole weight and balance for an experimental aircraft.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to go in a little bit more in depth if you're designing that experimental aircraft. Well, somebody has to set the first iteration of that design. Somebody has to sit down and figure it out, because you don't want to, as a designer, you don't want to say, "Hey, look at my new airplane. I only had to put 32 pounds of lead in the tail to make sure it's balanced."
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It is the same kind of a principle, but as a modeler or trying to design an airplane, I think the way that I was taught is a better way for us to use, and it's really quite simple. You can do it on a hand calculator, and you can do yours on a hand calculator as well.
Probably great.
Hey, you got it covered.
I look
you do it on
Tom. By the way, thank you, Tom, for the illustration. That's helpful, seeing it graphically.
So I made this this latch for the. This is how I get access to the battery.
Cool.
And I made a latch with a little spring-loaded latch.
Oh wow!
And then there's a tab in the front, the plywood tab. So it just attaches to the front, and then you just pull this spring-loaded latch, and and it locks it in place.
Hey, you could fake somebody out with that if you put a little antenna on that little thing back there. That they think you're flying that thing with radio control.
That looks really good.
So this is scratch built in a week.
Wow.
What I got done so far.
Very good.
COVID-19 has been good to some of us builders.
I actually have on my YouTube channel. I have 3 videos. If you just look up Tom Space Rammel on YouTube or search for Scratch Light Streak, you'll find them if you're interested in watching those.
I'll check them out.
There's some things that I do differently than a lot of people. I show in there how I join sheeting and some tips on joining sheeting and tips on wrapping or forming the balsa, molding the balsa leading edge without having a mold buck. By just wrapping wax paper over the leading edge and molding it that way. Anyway, you may pick up a few tips if you watch those videos.
I think so. I mean, I watch even carpentry videos. I pick up a lot from carpentry. I saw a guy using inner tube. He cut up a inner tube tire, rubber from inner tube, and he used that to hold the thing he was wrapping, like a clamp, like an elastic clamp. And
what I used are these the things that they put around your arm when they take blood. Rubber straps. That's what I used. I have several of those that a friend of mine gave me.
You're gonna mute your mic, Tryon. But hello, by the way.
Hi, Tryon.
Hey, guys.
I made pretty good progress on the Ringmaster Junior.
Oh, very good, Bill.
Got that sheeted. I just used a lot of masking tape around it.
Bill, when you first put that up, I thought you had to stab an elevator for something.
Oh. Here's the... Well, anyhow, I got the major part of it done.
Very good.
You're gonna like flying that, Bill.
Hey, Jen, I got a question for you.
Okay.
I didn't do it, Steve.
I gotta quit drinking Diet Pepsi and go back to Diet Mountain Dew. That's really. Can you? I know you draw airplane stuff. Can you draw Venturi?
Yeah.
You remember the ones that Inya made that had the little swirly things in it?
You mean the little holes in there so they sprayed into the center?
No, it was like little vortex generator things that was inside it. Swirled the.
No, I don't remember those.
You never seen them?
No, they must come out while I was on my sabbatical from model airplanes.
Yeah, they still show them on the website, but he's not making anything anymore. But
I heard that. Yeah, I heard he.
It had a real bell to it. You know, it was bell shaped.
Yeah.
Like a velocity. Remember in the old days on snowmobiles and stuff, they had velocity stacks you put in them?
Yeah.
But this had like a little line that ran on an angle to make it swirl. Besides sucking it in and packing it, it made a vortex in it.
Huh.
But Yeah, I was going to see if you could draw something like that. And a friend of mine has a 3D printer and said that he could print them out.
Huh. Well, I do most of my work in 2D, and almost all of my work in 2D. So it probably wouldn't be much helpful for me to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, I just, for what I do, most of the time, 2D has been, you know, been sufficient for everything I do. I've got a 3D here, but I'm so darn busy doing other things as far as drawing wise that I just don't take the time to get in there and learn the program.
Okay.
It's a poor excuse, I realize that, but it really is. I mean, like today, I finished up checking out my email and that, and then I went over, took the Vanguard and started working on that, and it took me 4 tries. There's something that had got. I brought in some parts from somebody else's drawings or drawing file. I mean, they sent them to me, said use them, but they were doing something different than I was doing, and it messed up my. It messed up. I had all these little ghost drawings in the background. I couldn't erase them because my program says they weren't there, but I could see them, you know.
Yeah.
And so then I found they were tied to one of the viewports, not the viewport, one of the layers on the you know, that the computer uses. And so I tried. I had to redraw some parts, and they're kind of complicated because these things had sometimes attach themselves to these parts. Well, I did it, and before as I got closer to where I was going to save it, the machine crashed on me, and so I did it again. I went through the whole thing again. I went through the thing 4 times actually total before I was able to get the thing saved before it crashed. And it was funny because the 4th time I saved it, and I went to go over and look at something, and just that little command to go look at something crashed it. But I had it saved, and I also got the program recovered it, so I got past that. But it took me all day to do that. That's kind of that's kind of stuff, you know, when you're that's why I don't have time to go play with trying to learn how to use 3D as much as I'd like to.
Hey, Bob, you getting that big storm there now?
Yeah, it was pretty impressive today. Got a lot of rain, a lot of thunder, and we had tornado warnings.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
I know it came through here. We missed it. By the time the moisture, we got all the wind and all that kind of stuff. But by the time the moisture got up here, it was past us, hit a little bit in Detroit, and then, man, really went into Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we got hit pretty hard, but it's out of here now and it's clear skies. So.
Oh, good.
So, Tom, talk about the electric in your flight streak. What motor and battery and all that?
Yeah, so let's see. I've got I think it's a 28 something.
There we go. That narrows it right down.
What brand is it?
What's that?
What brand is it? What motor brand?
It's a Turnigy
Turnigy.
from Hobby King. 1000 kV. I'm running just a 3-cell, 2200 3-cell. And I think 30 amp ESC. And yeah, a Nanotech 2200 3-cell battery.
That's cool. An electric combat streak. Yeah, I think she'll fly good.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So, Bob, I forget, there's something I read today on one of your posts. And you're talking about, it was T-tails. T-tails. And somebody didn't like to look at the C-17. I really think that C-17 actually looks very functional the way it should to do what it's doing.
What's that now?
I thought it was saying that the question came up on the C-17, the tail, the vertical stabilizer, how it looked like a out of place slab, and it was ugly. And I looked at it and I thought it looked pretty good, but the discussion went on to the positives or the negatives of high T-tails like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you wound up the last time I read you and Keith were talking about flying each other's airplane.
Yeah, I flew that little Mike of his. I forgot all about that when this thread started. And that did fly well. There was no problem with that airplane whatsoever. It didn't have any blanketing effect. But Billy Simons had built when I first met Billy Simons or first got to start flying with him, this had to be 65 or so. He had his first foam wing airplane with a tricycle geared jet, and he mounted the tail, a little higher than normal, and the airplane wouldn't turn outsides. And the only thing we could figure out was that it was blanketing, the wing or flaps were blanketing to have an elevator in that one little area. Had he moved up a little more, like Keith had done, it might have worked better. I think there is an area where they do blanket, and I think there's an area where you can get above that. But when you get above it, the problem becomes getting enough solid mounting. On a single boom airplane, you only mount it in the fin, and that might not be enough for rigidity. But on something like the OV-10A Bronco, which is a twin boom airplane, the stabilizer is supported between two booms, and it won't twist, and it'd be better. I've always wanted to do an OV-10A. I've had pictures drawn of those since I was in the Army. When I was in AIT training, I would look out the window and see the OV-10As flying around, and I started sketching them in my notebook,
Yeah.
But back then, we didn't have a viable way to do retracts, and we didn't have of course, getting one glow engine to run correctly all the time is impossible. Getting two is really impossible. So until electric came along and these new retracts, this wasn't even a project that was viable, but now it is. It really is.
I got in touch with Steve Berry. He's one of the guys that, and Keith had told me you ought to wrap that OV-10 around the little Pathfinder twin numbers, and so he said he didn't have it. So I sent him a PM and I'm so he sends me his email. I'm going to send him the files. He promised that he won't release the files to anybody, but he'll be able to use it to get the moments and
sure. Yeah, that would be a real good one to build it around for sure.
I love that OV-10 Bronco like you, but I really like the Canadian one that showed.
Yeah, I was going to say the Canadian Icarus TAV-1. That is some good-looking airplane. That's a really sleek airplane. Did anybody see that thing on that link?
No.
I did.
I wonder if I could capture that image and bring it up here. That's some pretty airplane.
I think you could. You just save it. You right click on it, say save as, put it in a file or bring it onto your computer, and then you can bring it in and share it easy.
Yeah.
Or you could, wait, it's even easier than that. You could bring it up and then share it, do a share with it.
Okay, let's see if I can do that. Hold on.
Okay.
Well, you guys continue to talk until I get this done.
This Icarus, this Canadian version of the Bronco is. I don't know if they started with a Bronco or if they started with a clean sheet of paper, but it looks an awful lot like a really super Bronco, and it's a gorgeous airplane. I mean, nobody'd have to hang their head in shame as a semi-scale stunner, and I think the numbers could be worked out pretty good.
I agree.
Yeah, it's the Canadian one is powered with turboprops, and I mean it. The Bronco looks kind of like a dinosaur sitting next to it.
Okay, let's see if I can make this work or not. I got it up on my screen. Oh, no, what do I do with it? Went away. Okay, I'll move this. I'm going to give it a try here. Yeah.
There it is.
Oh wow, that looks nice.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That is cool looking.
Can you see that as a stunner with retracts?
Oh man.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
could definitely see it. And you wouldn't have to depart very far from scale to do it either.
No, I don't think so either. And you wouldn't have to worry about someone thinking it's a modified Nobler.
Yeah.
That might get some originality points on that.
Yeah, that's a slick looking.
As a model.
That is a slick.
Oh, yeah.
What's that plane called again?
It's a Icarus TAV1. It's
Tango Alpha Victor.
T is in Thomas Alpha Victor -1. It's called Icarus TAV1. It's an offshoot of the Bronco, the OV-10A Bronco, which was in its own way was a pretty airplane, but this is way sleeker airplane than the Bronco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I take it the Canadians are still flying it, huh?
I would guess it's fairly new. I don't know.
Yeah, I see that pipe on the front for refueling. So
Yeah, it's definitely modernized. I mean, it's much sleeker looking than the OV-10A was. Not to say that the OV-10A didn't have its own charm, but it wasn't as much a stunt ship as this is a stunt ship. I mean, it really is.
Oh, this could be. I mean, the moments that just look right.
They do. I think they have more wing area, but
Yeah, and you might have to stick the props out a little bit further just to be able to get everything in there. So
Yeah.
not too bad with electric.
Yeah, that would be a natural. That's got to be done. Somebody's got to do that.
Looking at the fuselage behind the wing and in front, you got plenty of area to move the battery around to adjust the CG.
Yeah, no question. The only problem with twin boomers, well, two problems I see. One is all the extra weight of two fuselages. In this case, three fuselages, and the linkage of the control system. If you only put one linkage in either the inboard or outboard boom, and you drive the elevator from one end, it has to be very stiff so it doesn't torsion. You don't get a rolling component when you deploy the elevator because it twists because it's only being driven from one end.
Right. I did one. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was on my. Anyway, what I did is I used an arrow shaft on the leading edge of the elevator, a carbon fiber arrow shaft.
Mm-hmm.
And that stiffened it up enough that I didn't have to worry about it torquing very much at all. In fact, I don't think it torqued at all. And as far as the getting the linkage there, the cure to the linkage, there's two ways to go. Typical one is you go straight back to the not a bell crank, well, an L crank, okay. And you drive that, and then you drive that straight up, and then you'd have the flap horn, or not flap, the elevator horn, laying right alongside. Right, it would not be standing up or below the elevator. It'd be right alongside it. You just run right up to it, and so you what you're doing is you're just transferring the motion up and directly to the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
The other way is to go ahead.
That would work. But again, the problem gets to be weight. That's the only thing I have against it is the weight issue.
yeah, it said I just read an article. It said they just launched that this year.
Bob, you can have a very stiff elevator surface if you just add some of this. Just put the fiberglass at plus minus 45 degrees.
Yeah.
You put it at bias 45 degrees, and you plate the both sides of it, and make sure you cover the leading edge as well, so you kind of close it in, and that's good. They should be very, very stiff just by doing that.
Well,
Or you can use some CW 20 carbon fiber, which is very lightweight. It doesn't add any weight. Same thing. You
yeah.
also plate
I've
at 45 degrees plus minus, and it's going to be so stiff you can't even move it.
You know, flaps have the same issue. You know, you're driving them from one end, so you know, if they twist, you're going to get a helix in the flap. It'll actually bend.
Yeah, put CW 20 or 30 on it, and it's not going to twist, especially with the balsa core.
Well, that's. I think I got another one here that you want to see. This is an actual OB10A Bronco. Let me see if I can.
You'll see the family resemblance.
Let me see it. Yeah, well, yeah, and this one's a firefighting version, which I thought was pretty cool. The paint scheme is a lot nicer. Let me see if I can make this work. Oh, wait a minute here. I screwed it up.
This is the material, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Let me see if I can make this work or not. I'm not sure I can.
Very nice.
So you put this on the top of your flaps. It's not going to move anywhere.
How thick is that, Trad?
Here we go.
How thick is that?
Maybe not even 1/1000th of an inch.
It's real light then. There you go.
It's super light. It's 20 grams per square meter.
Yeah, that's light.
So this is light.
It looks funny because there's a vertical fin of another airplane sticking in the back of it, so it makes it look like it has 3 fins, but it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
2/1000th of an inch, if that's the question.
Okay.
I like that plane
And
too.
this is for the CW30.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of character to it, but the other one's just sleeker. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, I just like those colors. Those colors work good. That's like a navy blue and kind of a bronze color. Orange.
Well, anything that has bronze in it can't be too bad, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Charles, that's firefighting colors, red, white, and black, or blue, dark blue, like black almost.
Yeah, it's pretty scheme.
Well, anyway, so
does anybody know the term coin fighter?
I've heard it.
See, back when I was in the Army, you know, those were coin fighters.
Counter something or other.
Which was an acronym for counterinsurgency fighters. They were close support fighters. And there was a number of them. And Cessna had a little twin, and I think the Skymaster was a coin fighter too. So when I built the first twin, I was going to do it in a military scheme and call it coin return, and nobody got it. What the heck does coin return mean? You know, obviously they didn't know coin fighters.
Well, if anybody wants that ingrained balsa sandwich between carbon fiber,
Magnolite. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get it. Oh, there's a couple places, but the Sprint models, you can get a 6x12 piece for $29, 1/4 inch. And I don't know if you'd really need 1/4 inch or not.
Can you get it thinner? I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
I never saw it thinner. I only had 1/4 inch.
Yeah, you can get it. Well, 6.5 is about 1/4 inch. You can get it down to 2.5 millimeter.
Okay.
2.5, 3.5, 4.5, and then 6.5.
I'm not so sure if you get it too thin that you're getting the maximum benefit out of the construction of it. You know, the end grain balsa, but so little that you might as well just have a solid piece of carbon. You know.
I didn't realize that dragon plate stuff, they use that on boats.
Bob, you don't need end grain balsa for a balsa wood.
What?
I said you do not need end grade balsa. You just use any elevator just like this and shape it and cover it with the
No, we're
carbon
talking about,
fiber. You're done.
we're talking about something completely different here, Doran.
Answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking about a motor mount material, or it's called Magnolite. It's a unidirectional carbon on either side of end grain balsa, and it's incredibly strong and has a lot of gluing surface, and it's very
Yes.
light. It's very light, and I used to use it in RC pattern airplanes for the motor mount, so it was great. Had a lot of gluing surface.
Mm-hmm.
It
Okay.
didn't weigh anything, you know. So,
No, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Is
totally
that
different.
also used for bulkheads or mostly just for engine bearers?
Well, I don't see a need for it for bulkheads. I mean, unless you're making a take apart airplane, which you need something to keep the fuselage from flexing, it probably would be good there. But I just use it for motor mounts. You know.
Okay.
Get some of it.
It's kind of overkill for the size motors in the airplanes we're building, but for big RC pattern airplanes with YS-61s and things like that in them, it worked pretty well. You know.
Okay.
How much should a flight streak weigh?
22, 23 ounces,
Okay.
ideally, you know. Probably fly good up to 26 or 27, you know.
I'm gonna have to look into that Magnolite they call it.
Yeah.
I've got a the first plane I ever had published was the Twister Sister. The model builders did it, and it's going to be, well, it's 30 years old now, so it's legal for Super 70s, and so I was going to build one someday. I was going to build one, and I used a KMB 28 on that. They had the back plate had the mount in it, so like an RC mount, real lightweight setup. And the nice thing was, it had a radial cowl on it, so you could turn it to where your exhaust is right center line underneath. And anyway, that might be a good material to use for the firewall.
Yeah, it would be. I didn't even know it was being made anymore. I mean, again, I used it on limited applications, but every place I used it, it worked great. It was really good.
Yeah. I would think that you could, if you're building a take apart, instead of using the Magnolite, though, you could use light ply.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody.
There it is. Yep.
Let me click on you, Steve.
Yep.
1 second.
We're going to make you big, Steve. Here's your chance.
Okay. Wow. Very nice.
Yeah, I used that for a bulkhead. We also used it for our retracts. Instead of using plywood, we use that.
Yeah.
And because it's got really good crush resistance and stuff like that. But that was back when turnaround was starting, and we're finally getting into making stuff lighter.
Yep. The only problem with it, kind of like G10, is it wears out saw blades real quick.
Oh yeah.
You know, you almost have to grind it instead of cutting it.
You know, there's one thing I did on a couple planes where I called out 1/8 ply. You know, when you're building up your crutch for your motor mounts, and and the nose and all that. I instead of using the ply, I used 3/32 balsa, but I put 64th balsa on each side of it.
Make a full bolt of plywood.
Yeah, and it was super light, and it was really strong, more than strong enough to do the job that needed to be done.
I just did that with those twin rudders on that new Genesis I'm building. I made balsa plywood, 16th inch running front to back on both sides, and then 45-degree in the center. And man, those things they'll never warp or twist, and they don't warp anything, So.
What did you use for glue when you did that?
Z-epoxy finishing resin, very light coat of that stuff.
Okay, that's the same stuff you use on the inside of your formed balsa, right?
Shells and everything. Yeah, I use a lot of it. I buy it by the case. Well, I cover wings with it. You use a lot of it over time.
Yeah. I may have to get some of that. I live out in the hinterland. Even in Salt Lake, I don't think I could get that.
From Frank Tiano Enterprises down in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I talk to Frank quite often and get it from him, and I get CA by the case too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. So I can remember Frank Tiano.
Interesting character.
Is he? I don't know if I've ever met him. I may have met him if he was at VSC, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's a radio control scale guy. But he used to work for me when I worked with that Flying Models. He would do a lot of reviews for us.
Oh, yes.
I got to know him.
Yeah, that's where the name's familiar from.
He owns FTE, Frank Tiano Enterprises, and they handle Zap products and the Z-epoxy and Zap adhesives and everything. So.
Okay. I'm planning on doing. I've drawn up that Vanguard. I've got a lot of little sub bulkheads on the top and bottom so I don't try to avoid getting the starred horse look. And you told me about putting that Z-epoxy on the inside of the mold, and I could probably get rid of just have like one at the front, one in the middle, one at the back.
Yeah, they really make them stiff. They don't sag at all. And I put form reserve about every 3 inches or so at the most. But if you mold that 16th inch shell and you just kind of put it over the formers and you can press on it, you can feel it pressing in. You put 1 coat of Z-epoxy in there, and hit it with a heat gun and let it sit for about 2-3 minutes and wipe every bit of it out. Just get as much out as you can. Keep heating it and wiping it and let it cure. And it adds almost no weight at all. And it makes the balsa like a piece of steel, but it weighs nothing. And
Really?
There's no way it's gonna get that starved horse look.
Well, I wouldn't have known about the heating and the wiping if you hadn't just said it.
Yeah, well, it helps. I mean, you don't have to do that, but heating it makes it soak in better and quicker, and it also makes it more viscous so that you can wipe it out easier.
Yeah.
Less
cut
viscous.
out a little weight.
Yeah.
That's less viscous, Bob.
Less viscous,
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I know.
Makes it runnier.
I know with Gordon's Tony, we molded the blocks, the top and bottom blocks, and the nose and all that on it. And we didn't think about it. We used all regular Broda dopes, and they were, Randolph, but they were the tautening. They were not the non-tautening dopes. And so that poor plane, as it aged, it got to look more and more like a starved horse.
Let's see if I can find
Bob, I have a question for you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I was trying to figure out how to put these guys together. Okay. And you have the blade that goes in the center in here, right? The
Scab spar.
Okay, this one, right?
The scab spar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The center spar just kind of goes in there like that, right?
Right.
But the problem I had is like if I have my Velcro connected to the push rod, if I try to put this spar inside, it's kind of a awkward way to work with it.
Glue that into 1/2. I've got a picture. Hold on. Glue that into 1/2 first, the inboard half, and then what I do is I file an 1/8 inch diameter notch, say 5/8 of an inch, right behind that scab spar, and that's where my bell crank post fits right up against the back of that. You feed it all in. We can get a picture. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Give me a second here. But yeah, that's a good thing to have in there. If you have if the configuration of the wing allows it. Not everyone does. That's the problem. Where is it?
Hey, Bob, look at this.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to find. What's that? Yeah. What about it?
So I have those little plates over there that's going to constrain the bell crank, right? And on the inside is going to be this piece of plywood, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I tried to do that case scenario, but in that case scenario, if I do this, if I put this in here.
Hold on. Let me get this picture. It'll explain it.
Give me a second. If I put this in here like that, okay.
Hold on. I got the picture here.
And I have the bell crank over there.
Just a second. I'm trying to do something here for you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But that's on the center, Bob. That's on the center. My bell crank is offset to a side, so push rod is going to go through the sheeting.
All right, so you don't have to have it. I think them in on fully built up fuselages so that the output of the bell crank is in the center of the wing. But you don't have to file that notch that deep. You can put it at the closer to the center line of the wing and have the push rod offset to the outside.
Yeah, that's what I have here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have here, Bob. You see that?
Well, I'm having the picture up. Hold on a second. Yeah.
That's what I have here, right?
You got it. So what's the deal?
Yeah, the deal is like now if I put the push rod over here and I try to assemble it together, put the other wing inside, I cannot do it with the push rod on, assembled.
Well,
So I think I kind of figured it out, but I have to put this over here on this side, on the outboard.
You know, one thing you can do, and it's a pain to do, but I've done it in the past, is you know how you thread in, you have the threaded coupler on the end of the push rod?
Yes.
And it threads into the ball link. Well, you know, you could just put it together without the push rod in there and then get in there with a pair of forceps or something and hold the ball link up and thread the push rod in from the outside.
Okay. Kind of like what I was figuring out myself.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of came to the same exact conclusion. Or or instead of doing this, I'm thinking about doing the opposite and start with the outboard and mount this in the outboard. Now I have easy access to, I can also mount it like this in the outboard wing. And now I have pretty easy access to it to put the push rod, kind of position and tack it in place. And then when I put the inboard wing inside, everything should kind of fall in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, if you had to, you could thread that. You could just have the ball link. The picture's up there. You could have the ball link loose, and then just kind of reach in there and.
I have it already, Bob.
Pop it up and.
Bob, I have it already.
Thread it in.
You got one of those bell cranks in there, don't you?
Yeah, look.
Yeah, they work great. There's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it already made, and you can see it's in a.
Everybody said those things failed because Rudd crashed that one airplane. We crashed it so hard that everything in the airplane got bent. And the bell crank did not cause that crash. I'm telling you right now, it didn't cause that crash. I've been using it for years. I've had no problems with them whatsoever. Buddy Weeder had one in his 83-ounce electric twin, and he flew it in heavy wind, and he never had a problem with it. So they're not going to bend.
Yeah, I'll be fine. Okay, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if you're building something that heavy that it would make that bell crank fail, then you need to start building lighter.
How about it?
Hey, Bob, have you ever tried Bob Smith's finish cure?
Yeah, I had some of that. It's basically the same thing as the Z-Epoxy. I like the Z-Epoxy. I've had so much experience with it that I like the way it works, and I get it for a really good price. So I just buy that by the case, and it stands well, and it works very well. It's got good.
The Bob Smith stuff, you can get that now in 13-ounce jars for $30.
Yeah, I get more than that a lot cheaper from Tiana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You start buying quantity, you can get the prices down, especially if you're an old buddy.
So
Bob,
can we
you know how
call
heavy is this panel?
Huh?
This wing panel to this point? This is 83 grams.
Cool.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So Bob, we can call Tiana and ask for the Bobby Good deal.
Yeah, for the Bobby Hunt price. I don't think you should do that. I think that might make me mad.
We don't want that.
But yeah,
Works
you know,
great.
otherwise you can get, I mean, hell, most of the time you're buying what Z-Poxy for 4.5 ounces or whatever it is.
They're 8-ounce bottles.
Or they're 8-ounce bottles.
Yeah.
It's gonna be both 4 ounce and 8 ounce.
Yeah. But
I
hell,
can do that.
the
And I
4
get-
ounce
I
ones
get
are,
it at time, so I get a pretty good deal on it.
yeah, the 4 ounce stuff is like, what, 14, 15 bucks at a hobby.
I get the
Yeah.
8-ounce cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that, guys. But that's
Bob,
For people who can't get a good price, I like Bob Smith stuff, but I've used both, but I like Bob Smith stuff better. It wets in better, but
well,
you can get 13-ounce bottles for $30.
no, okay.
And that's damn cheap if you can't get the Bob Hunt price.
I talked to Bob not too long back. He had actually seen some kind of a manual that I did, and he was real impressed with it. He said he wanted to use it on his website, and he said the only problem with it had Zap adhesive shown in it, you know. And I said, well, that's what I use. And he said, well, I still like to show the manual because I like the techniques. I said, yeah, go ahead. You know, I don't know if he ever did or not, but he said, look, if you ever want, I'll send you a whole bunch of adhesive to try out. And I said, well, you know, pretty happy with the stuff I'm using right now, but I should try it, I guess. You know, should always try new things.
You still use Zap?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. It's always fresh. It works as advertised. It never gets yellow. It never, you know, it never, you know, I put it in the freezer so it doesn't kick early, and it works great. I don't know. I can't say good things about Zap products.
You know, it's, you know,
Was that originally satellite or what?
No.
There's Satellite City, there is Zap, there is Mercury. I like Mercury too, but it got real expensive and it was hard to get.
Yeah. I remember when on Hot Stuff, matter of fact, I have Hot Stuff to thank for being the editor at Flying Models magazine. It was right after the Worlds of '78, and I got a call from Bill Hunter, the guy who owns Satellite City. And he said, I heard that you used some of my adhesive to build your airplane. I said, yeah, I did. He said, well, could you send me a photo? I want to put you on our Hot Stuff All-Stars ad. You know, and I said, yeah, except I don't have a camera. He says, well, you live in Jersey, right? I said, yeah. He said, how far from Flying Models magazine? I said, oh, about 40 minutes. I said, I go there quite often. He said, well, I'll have the editor, Bob Heckley, I'll call him and make arrangements for you to go up there and take the photo. And, you know, we'll use it in the ad. I said, okay. So I got up there and Heckley took me out to dinner. He was the editor at the time. And at dinner, he said, we need an associate editor. And he listed all the, you know, the duties. And the only one I knew how to do it all was drawing plans. And he said, why don't you take the job? I said, I can't do the things, you know, the editing and the, you know, the Photoshop stuff and everything. He said, we'll teach you all that. He said, you know, so I said, okay. And that's how it started.
Really?
So I got Bill Hunter to thank for having that job.
Yeah.
Wow.
All started with your pretty face and wanted a picture of you.
Well, that's when he had hair, though. You got to realize.
Yeah. I had like a 3-piece suit on and everything. I thought it was really a big deal, you know. So that's cool. But he sent me a lot of adhesive after that. But the problem was that stuff didn't last. It didn't have a good pot life. It didn't last for very long before it turned yellow. And I'll tell you one more quick story about hot stuff. When it first came out, and this was about, I don't know, 73 or 4, someplace in there, when it had only been out a short while. And Chris Lulla was working for me part-time at Control Line Specialties. And in the evening, he would come in and build his own airplanes. And he had an offer from invitation from Rockefeller Center in New York to come and fly an airplane on the ice rink at Rockefeller Center. And it had to be a half A, obviously. So he had a short amount of time to get this done. And he came in and said, you know, I got to build an airplane. I said, well, look, I got a little Mustang I was working on. I had the wing done, the controls in, I had the fuselage crunch done, the tail. I said, why don't you just take that and build it, you know, whatever you want around it. So he did. And, you know, of course, he had airplanes called the Sundance and the Sunriser. You always use the sun motif. And he said, I can't come up with a name for this thing. I said, call it the Sunspot. And he got real mad at me because I came up with the name Sunspot and he didn't, you know. But he was putting the wing in one night. He was smoking a cigarette and he's putting the wing in and he put the saddle piece in and he put some baking soda. The big deal back then was put baking soda in the joint and squirt the hot stuff in and it would kick over. Man, would it kick over. I mean, like a little volcano, you know. So he didn't know what he was doing. And he put the baking soda in the joint, put his finger on the joint and squirted the hot stuff in. And this little mushroom cloud came up, you know, and you could see the pain in his eyes. He smoked a cigarette, and as soon as the pain subsided, he lifted his finger, and there was this little airplane attached to his finger. You know, he just sat there looking at this airplane like this. Man, you're going to have to just rip that thing right off. We actually ripped the pad of his finger off to get the airplane off.
Oh man! Wow.
We didn't know about nitro dissolving it at that point in time.
Hey, Robert, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Good to see you guys. It's been a few weeks since I've been on.
Yes.
Yeah, Bob, you're saying about hot stuff. It's sticking you to it. Boy, did we find that out in the 70s when it came out.
How about it? Yeah.
But what a godsend for field repairs.
It was. But man, I'll tell you, I had more than a few tears in my eyes from burns, you know.
Yeah,
You know,
I use it a lot industrially too. I buy the 2P10 brand from the industrial supply houses.
Okay.
And it's dirt cheap in comparison, really long shelf life. I just bought, actually, I'll dig it out and show you the general kit that I picked up, and then I buy the big ones just for refills.
Wendy Yarnowski, by the way, he was working on an airplane, and he sat on a bottle of it. He had it on a stool, and he sat on a bottle, and the bottle burst and glued his whole rear end to a stool. And he had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
I've never heard about that.
Yeah, my brother blew my eye shut.
What do we got here?
He got the bottle out and
Get a kit.
Oh wow.
You can get a kit like this, which here's the fast. Anyway, it's from thin through gel. I never ever use the gel. It just goes bad anyway.
Hold it up a little higher. A little higher. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's a handy kit, and just for refills, I just buy the big bottles.
Yeah.
I just top up the little bottles with it. And, you know, a big bottle like this, in the States, it's probably about $25. I pay about 30 Canadian here. The whole kit, I think, is about 40 or 45 here, so that'd be around 30 there.
Huh.
And for the accelerator, I just buy the big spray bombs of it, and it works terrific.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. The one good thing about hot stuff is that I never had to buy accelerator.
Yeah.
Cigarette smoke worked real good. Get that by it kick it like that.
And that baking soda, that worked real good too. Because once you hit it with the CA, it would form like little pins. It would spike, you know, like little stalactites, and it would snake down into the ball, so you couldn't get it apart if your life depended on it. And it was light, you know. So.
Has anyone tried the flexible stuff by Bob Smith?
I haven't. Zap has one of those too, a flexible CA, but I haven't tried it.
I've got the foam stuff from them. I've used that a little
Yeah,
bit
I've
because
used
I
the
can't
foam
get that
stuff
on
works
2P
good,
kit.
but
I don't
I
like.
was wondering about the flexible stuff. They said that it's like epoxy, basically the same shear and all that kind of stuff as epoxy would be. I've never tried it.
Be good for high vibration areas, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. Where you use epoxy, you can use that Flex CA,
Mm-hmm.
but
I stuck my finger in the prop once so bad. My finger was so mangled up. And I was out in the field. I know you guys have probably all done this too, but I just squoze it together and put some CA on it and endured the pain of it kicking off and then put another coat on it. Made a nice little bandage, and that thing healed up without a scar.
Well, they use it in Canada. They use it in surgery. It's allowed to be up there. They use it in surgery. The whole body part.
They used it in Vietnam as a quick field dressing.
Yeah, it won't hurt
That's
you.
what it was made for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back just before I started working at Flying Models, I worked for Don Schulman. Does that name ring a bell?
Yep.
Leon Schulman's son. And he had a company called the Glue Mart. He was repackaging hot stuff and selling it to different venues. And the two major venues we had were semiconductor manufacturers and funeral homes.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a salesman. I had to go out to funeral homes. And one day I got to this funeral home, and there was this guy had this lady in there whose husband had just passed away. And he was being laid out in a gray suit. And she was in there, and she was complaining that the guy, the stiff next to him in the blue suit, looked better. So the guy said, "Look, there's no problem. We'll take care of it." So she came back half an hour later. They had her husband in a blue suit. She says, "I hope this wasn't too much trouble." He said, "No, man, we just switched heads." Hook, line, and sinker, boys.
Yeah,
That's
that was
funny.
But I did-
delivery, Bob.
that's where we did sell a lot of it to funeral homes.
well, it's probably cheaper than them using pennies.
Yeah.
I tried some of this stuff for the first time, and I don't like it at all, but some people do.
What is that?
Superphatic. It's like real thin, like CA, but it takes a lot, 10 minutes to set up, and then the joints are rubbery.
Can you show it again, Bill? I didn't see it. And hold up higher and closer to the camera. Can't even see it.
Superphatic, it's called.
Yeah.
Super
Oh, it's
fat.
the white glue, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, super phatic, aliphatic resin.
Yeah, it's just real thin.
Has
Well,
any,
thanks for the heads up. I won't buy that.
It does dry up light, though. You start off with 2 ounces of CA. If you put that in, that's 2 ounces you added to your airplane. But the aliphatics are mostly water, and that all evaporates off. So you want to wind up with a light.
everybody here probably uses Type Bond 2, right? They use a lot of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you tried Type Bond 3?
No.
That's what I use because most of my RC planes are seaplanes, and it's
And-
waterproof.
It's waterproof. It's good when you join up skins for making molded shells because you can throw them in the bath and it won't come apart. But it also sands better. It's like a luthier's glue. It's like a stringed instrument builder's glue, and it sands better. And I think it's stronger, and it takes a little longer to set up, so you got more time to adjust things. It's really good glue. I recommend everybody try some Type Bond 3.
I wrote this down. I'll try it.
I still use was it Sig?
Ambroid forever.
No, that stuff Sig makes in that little
Sig.
bottle.
Oh,
Sigmund?
Sigmund?
Sigbond.
No, Sig something. All it is aliphatic resin, but I just like the little bottle it comes in because I don't use that much. And
Oh, RC56? Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
that's a canopy glue.
no, Sig. It's a Sig.
Sigbond or something, I think.
Sig bond. That's it. Sig bond. Yep.
Yeah, it works right. It's an aliphatic resin. They're all
Yeah.
like
They just buy it from. They probably buy it from Elmer's.
Yeah, the Type Bond tree has different properties to it. I really like it.
It's called Sigment, Sigment.
That's a different.
Segment is there.
That's different.
Segment.
Sigment. I still use Sigment too if I
Huh.
do an old model and do the cloth hinges.
Yeah.
It works a lot better than what Ambroid does.
Yeah.
I was getting
Do
bubbled.
you still use Ambroid?
I
Do
did.
they even still make that stuff? You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm
they
amazed.
changed the formula back in the 70s when everybody was sniffing it. They changed the formula. They wrecked the glue. It was never the same.
I don't think it's made anymore.
I use aliphatic or Zap. I mean, it's one or the other.
Phil, have you tried Tight Bond 3?
I have a tube of it downstairs, but I'm finishing instead of building right now.
I'll tell you, that stuff really works well. I've pretty much switched over to Tight Bond 3 for everything.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
I always liked boy, I tell you, it's hell to grow. It's not Sigma. It's we're just talking about. They don't make it. You don't think it make it anymore.
Ambroid?
Ambroid, yeah. The thing I liked about Ambroid was when it was dry, like you joined a couple blocks together. When it dried and you sanded it, you could not tell where that joint was.
It sanded well. It really did.
Yeah.
And another one that sanded well was Duco.
Yeah.
Duco.
Yeah, everybody told me how to use cloth hinges, told me to use it with Duco cement. But where the heck do you find it?
Hardware store.
Back in those days, you could find it at hardware stores and everything. If you couldn't go to a hobby shop, you could always get Duco at another outlet, you know?
No, I mean, I asked Jerry Phelps how he did his cloth hinges like last summer or summer before last, year before all this crap at the contest down in Triple Tree. And he said Duco cement over, he told me what kind of fabric. And I'm sitting there, Duco cement? Big question mark.
Yeah, taffeta. He uses Duco cement and taffeta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't see his hinges. I was impressed. He does beautiful work.
He's one
But everything I've ordered from Jerry, man, I ordered a couple propellers from him. They came in a homemade box. There was more craftsmanship in the box that he sent it in than in a lot of the parts I've ordered from people.
And you know what he's even better at than model airplane building?
What's that?
Baking. He's a pie maker and a cookie maker par excellence. I mean, seriously, wow. His pies and cookies are he used to bring them out to VSC, a big rack of pies. And we all ate Kings all week long. You know, it's great.
You can buy Duco cement at Walmart.
Yeah.
Speaking of VSC,
look it up.
Jim Hoffman just posted that the VSC is canceled for 2021.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Phooey.
And
it's like another year that wasn't.
Yeah, and the Southwest Regionals,
then, right?
The Southwest Regionals in January will probably, and it isn't because the Parks Department has a limitation of 10 people in a group to use that park.
Oh.
Well, you should be able to fly any stunt contest you want then.
Not VSC.
No, not VSC for sure.
They have between 60 and 70 entries.
What are they on, like 31 now or something? VSC 31 or something?
33 is
33. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I went to 22 of them.
I think I met you at VSC 3 or 4.
First thing I ever met you when you had that twin flight streak that's right behind you there now.
No, that was your first.
What could you fly at the first VSC? Only old time stuff?
No.
Really old
been that long.
You're being funny. Okay,
the first time you met me, Bob, I was flying a baby magician.
Oh, okay.
You were judging. And I got done my flight, and you walked up, shook my hand, and said, "First time I ever saw anybody fly a baby magician through the whole pattern."
Wow. I remember telling you that you better laugh at my jokes because I laugh when you fly.
Oh,
You're good, Bob, but you know Tony Lang was the one that suckered me in the worst.
He was great.
Tony was a
He was
character.
the best.
You know you're getting old when the guys that you remember judging as kids, and I mean small kids, have kids out there themselves, and they're flying very well too now.
Yeah.
Really makes me feel weird. But I guess the rest of you have been through it too, but it's strange.
I remember meeting
content.
Sean McGinty at VSC and Dan, and Sean was this little tiny kid, and now he's, you know, a guy that flies drones for the Army, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that with Derek Berry. And now Derek's got a son that's coming out there and flying. It just feels rather weird.
Yeah.
But
I
we're getting old,
remember, yeah. What was it that I remember? This is getting terrible, guys.
I guess.
The problem is now we can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell you what you do.
Mark Cohen. I remember when he was 14, 15 years old when he started showing up on the forums. He was flying with his grandpa. And you know, I was doing plans and he knew it. And he sent me 3 little hand-drawn drawings of some planes that he designed, you know. And I still have those. I scanned them in. I've got them on my computer. One of these days when he gets a little older, I'm going to send them back to him and say, "You remember these?"
Yeah, I'll bet. That'd be neat. I tell you what, John, next time you can't remember what you was just thinking of, Bill Cosby said it best, I think. You get up and you go in the other room to do something, and you get in there and you forget what the heck you were going to do. So you come back and sit down, and just as soon as your butt hits that chair, you'll remember what it was you went in there for. So when you get in there and you've forgotten what you went for, grab your butt with both hands and squeeze. So, I mean, everybody's downing Bill Cosby now, but I think if anybody has to wait 30 years to prosecute somebody or mention something and wait till they're so whatever that they can't remember what they had for lunch yesterday, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. They should have just left the man alone. But anyway, I don't know. I still think he's the funniest for his era. Now, Red Skelton's my all-time favorite, but I think he's the funniest man alive.
That album he put out, Why Is There Air? That was the funniest album ever.
I have 200 miles an hour and Noah, and I love Noah.
Noah's great.
Noah,
what was the one about meeting my brother or something about his brother?
What's that?
He did one about him and his brother and how he used to tell his brothers there was alligators. You know, his brother's in the bed, you know, with the little kid's bed.
I don't have that one, but I remember hearing it. I can't remember the name of it though.
Yeah.
My brother Russell or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Russell.
Noah was a classic though.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I love 200 miles an hour. At the end of it, it says, "You take that car, you take it to Alabama, and you give it to George Wallace." It was cool.
Oh, every Saturday night, I think it's 8:00. There's RFD, RDF, some station, and it's usually where all during the week they talk about hogs and this and that or whatever. But on Saturday nights, they're playing the Red Skelton hour.
No, Red was
I watch it every week. Classic. Watch Red Skelton.
And it was a comedian. It was a whole era of comedians that could be funny without having a swear word. No offense.
Yeah. No offense, Steve.
But they could do a whole routine and keep it clean, and it would still be funny.
Red Skelton and Jack Benny were 2 of them.
Bob Hope.
And there's George Burns.
Yeah,
you don't hear a lot about George Burns much, but he was pretty darn good.
Yeah, a friend of our family went to school with Red Skelton.
Wow.
Oh Lord, that's pretty cool.
She had her yearbook and Red wrote in it something, whatever it was. But in that yearbook, he was voted class clown. Kind of hard to believe, huh?
Yeah, real.
Not really.
Remember the nationals that were held in Illinois, and we stayed over in Indiana, and we went across the Red Skelton Bridge into Illinois every day. It was,
Well, he was from Vincennes, Indiana. That's where
yeah,
that's where the guys are from.
yeah.
We have the Billy Craddock Bridge here.
And right across the river was Lawrenceville, which is where the airport was that we flew at in 90 and 91 and 93.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was kind of cool hearing all the stories about him because their families grew up on the same street. I guess Vincennes back then was nothing, of a town, and everybody knew each other and stuff. But, yeah, I seen him in person one time at the grocery store, but I didn't get to talk to him. I was going to try to talk to him, but they had people rushing him out. So he came in the Myers grocery store to get something. I don't know what they were getting. But he was.
I ran into food. Go ahead. I ran into Food Line one day in Clemens, and a little town not too far from here. I'm in the middle of about 5 towns. And that's the reason they call this area Midway. I'm in the middle of everything. But anyway, I went in and I thought I saw somebody over next aisle over. I said, I can't believe, but I think I saw, and I couldn't even put my words together. I went over in the next aisle and about ran face to face into Jerry Lewis.
Oh.
And I'm sitting there cutting up with him and just talked to him for about 10 minutes. He's just funny as heck. His mother-in-law lived in Clemens. So then in college, and this was a few years later, in college, I used to do a cut-up act, just cutting up act of Foster Brooks. Yeah. Well, I ran into Jerry Lewis again, and he said, I heard you do a Foster Brooks imitation. I said, well, I attempt to do a Foster Brooks imitation. Foster's hard to copy. I said, I'd love to meet the man. He's very fun. He's hilarious. He's clean, and he's just a lot of fun. I turned around, and the other guy's Foster Brooks. Wow. So I actually got to meet him one time, but he was a real gentleman. Those guys are really just real people.
A question for everybody. Who's the most famous person you've ever met, outside of a concert or going, to a meet and greet, but just happened to meet in real life? Who was the most, yours had to be what, Foster Brooks and Jerry
Lewis.
Who else?
Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Famous, not infamous.
Well, I had both going to
Well,
anybody else know the guy's name that I met? He's a baseball player.
I met Jerry Lewis.
Who?
I mean, I met no. Damn it! I caught that man.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter. I met in an airplane hangar at the airport one time.
Well, I'm guessing the most famous one I've ever met, come to think of it, was not a human. It was a dog. I got off an airplane one time, and there's a collie getting on the airplane. Well, I'm getting on the airplane. There's a dog getting on the airplane. It was Lassie.
Well,
he really did sit in the center seat between the two trainers, and all but the first one were male. I didn't know that, but I'm petting him. He's just as sweet as he could be. But and then I met the guy that wrote Roots in an airport one time.
Most famous person I met, two people with David Hobbs. I met David Hobbs coming back from the World Championships in Germany. He was turning his car in after going to a Grand Prix. He was an announcer at the Grand Prix. But the most famous person I ever met and talked to for about half an hour was Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Roy Orbison was a model airplane flyer, and I met him at Toledo.
Very cool.
Yeah. He didn't want to talk about music.
You remember it was a movie with Sean Penn, and he was in prison or whatever, like a boys' prison. And his roommate,
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys, made that bomb out of that radio and stuff. So whoever
His
that
name was Knopfler.
yeah, I met him here in Grand Rapids. We went out to eat and then went to a bar later on and stuff like that. And he was in doing a comedy show. But I didn't.
Bob Hunt,
Yeah.
to answer your question, I moved to Nashville in 2003. 1 week later, my wife sent me to Walmart, and in the Walmart parking lot was the coal miner's daughter, and Loretta Lynn was standing in the door of the bus signing autographs for people
Wow.
in the Walmart parking lot.
Wow. That would
She
be a
was
good
getting
one.
ready to go out on tour, and her people were packing the bus. They were in Walmart getting supplies, and she stood in the door of that bus and signed autographs for anybody that came up to the bus.
Wow.
Did you get an autograph?
So, no, I didn't get one. I think I had my first cell phone at the time. I think I had like a flip phone or something, and I called my wife and I said, well, she was my girlfriend at the time. I said, Lisa, you're not going to believe this. Loretta Lynn's in the parking lot of Walmart. And she's like, honey, you're going to have to get used to that. You're going to see celebrities all over Nashville, everywhere you go.
Yeah.
They're just regular folk, and you're going to see them wherever you go. Don't bother her.
I still got to get down there with you, Mike, and go out to that Bluebird Cafe. I'm just dying to go to that place.
Hey, man, we can do it. We can do it. The other famous person that I know personally, like not just met, and I don't know if he counts as a celebrity, but it's Jack Roush from Roush Racing.
Oh, sure.
I met Jack. Yeah.
I know.
I can't remember the guy's name.
I know him pretty well.
I can't remember the guy's.
I flew in his P-51 Mustang with him.
Wow.
So
I don't know him that well.
yeah, I know him that
I
well.
can't remember the guy's name,
before.
but at the Northwest Regionals many years ago, we were flying in Gilroy, which is the garlic capital of the world. They had a speaker at the banquet for after the banquet, and he was the P-38 pilot that made Ace in the Day, and he talked about his whole service time, and he was just a little guy. A lot of the pilots were quite small. They apparently, but this guy was like 5'4", 5'5", but he was a tough little bugger. The funniest story he told is they went into town in Italy. They went into town and they got drunker than skunks, and they came back. They had a Jeep. They had loaded down with wine. They found somebody's wine cellar and a donkey tied to the back, and that donkey wound up as their mascot. They had to keep an eye on the donkey because the cooks were always looking at him kind of funny when they got short of meat.
Yeah.
So when they rotated him north up into Europe from Italy, they figured they didn't want to leave that donkey behind, so they because they figured the cooks would grab it and cook it up. So they mounted on his P-38. They mounted a auxiliary fuel tank, and they cut 4 holes in there so that and put the donkey in there. And his legs were sticking out the hole, and that's how they flew him.
Good grief.
That's how they flew him in. Hey, but I got one more. If any of you old guys know who Motley Crue is.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
Well, are you Motley Crue fans? Like, you know the chronology of the band and who was in the band and out of the band and stuff?
No.
Man,
So
I can barely remember the name of the people in the Beatles, and I love them.
Okay, so everyone knows who Motley Crue is, and everyone knows Vince Neil is the singer of Motley Crue. Well, in the 90s, he got kicked out of the band, right? And this other guy came into the band, a guy named John Corabi, was the lead singer of Motley Crue for about 3 years, and they cut 2 albums together. And then they kicked John out of the band, and Vince came back to the band. So John Corabi was like the scab guy busting in the union lines to go sing for Motley Crue, right? Because everybody wanted Vince, but they had a falling out, and John sang with the band. John was my neighbor in East Nashville. He moved in just a few doors down from me when we lived in East Nashville, and I got to know him pretty well. And he's still actually a really active and talented musician. So I can count. This isn't just like a meet and greet or a brush or just knowing him. John is actually a friend of mine. We hang out and have drinks together on occasion, and our wives know each other and stuff like that. And anyway, John Corabi, who was in Motley Crue for a few fleeting years while Vince Neil was fired from the band.
Wow.
That's neat.
You guys, if
That's
I can
neat.
interrupt, I have a comment from the chat box. This is Jeff Riley. He ate lunch at the same table with Tom Hanks and Danny DeVito when he was working at Sony Studios.
Okay, so he has us all beat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know about
I personally met at a gas station Dave Winfield when he was being traded from the San Diego Padres to the New York Yankees. And
Dave Winfield? Oh, yeah.
I had a nice conversation with him. He was just getting traded. I think he was one of the highest paid players going to the New York Yankees.
At that time, yeah.
Didn't he?
I'll see your gas station story with Dave Winfield and raise you meeting Jack White and Hank Williams Jr. at a gas station in East Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't meet, but I seen Hank Williams Jr. when I was in Nashville.
We pulled into a gas station and Jack White was gassing up his Mercedes and Hank Williams Jr. was sitting in the passenger seat. Bo Cephas himself.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's pretty good.
Country music.
And I'll raise you a Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. I saw him twice in Nashville. Once at a stoplight sitting right next to me. When he was doing all that stuff with
Alison Krauss.
Alison Krauss. He lived in Nashville for a little while. So once I'm sitting at a traffic light in my Titan, and he pulls up in a fully decked out 4x4 Titan right at the stoplight next to me. And then like 2 weeks later, we're turning a corner down at 5 Points, and he's standing on the corner drinking a cup of coffee. And I said to my wife, that's Robert Plant. And my wife's like, leave him alone. He's drinking his coffee.
I wouldn't care much about meeting Robert Plant, but I sure would like to meet Alison Krauss.
Me too.
Well, I got to meet Johnny Cash at when I was in the service in Hawaii.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
That was when Burning Ring of Fire first came out.
You guys remember Buster Mathis, the boxer?
Yeah.
He fought Muhammad Ali and stuff. And a friend of mine lived 2 streets over. Her dad was best friends with him. They grew up together as kids.
Wow.
And I'd see him all the time. And Buster Mathis Jr., he was just a little teeny baby running around. And I forget who he fought for. I think he fought Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson knocked him out in the first round, but Buster Mathis Jr. too, boxer.
We lived in the same town as Yogi Berra, and I never got to. It was a couple of blocks away, but I never got to meet him.
Well, it's not over till it's over.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's
it.
You guys heard of Leslie Nielsen, I imagine?
I have a question.
Okay.
You got a model airplane question?
Yeah, a model airplane question. I'm desperate. I just came out of that.
Model airplanes.
So I have a challenge of making landing gear wire. And I was talking to Eric Rule today, and I was at his shop a couple years ago, and he had the most ingenious contraption using an arbor press, and he had someone machine a jig, a die to bend the wires, and he could just make duplicate wires. Obviously, with his business, he would make 30 sets of wires, unlike most of us. Does anybody have any idea on bending wire and getting? Because when I want to make landing gear for a plane, you know what I got to do? I got to go to the hobby store and buy all the machine wire they have to end up with 2 that are the same.
Right, because you're having trouble bending 2 the same length?
Yes. Okay.
You're going to hate me for this, because Phil Granderson asked me the same question several years ago. When I gave him the answer, it was this dead silence on the phone, and he did a Homer Simpson, smacking himself in the forehead. He said, why didn't I think of that? you have a K&S wire bender?
Yes, I have the mighty one and the mini.
Are you ready for this? Now, everybody's going to feel foolish when I tell them because one day it hit me how to do it. You take the two pieces of wire together and bend them at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the problem I have is not so much that, but it's when you want the wire to fit in the wing. It takes me so many times to get that part that lays in the wing.
The length of it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is what is so difficult. That's why I go through so much wire. But what Eric Rule has, he would actually just measure that distance. Like I said, his contraption, he had to stop.
Set up the fixture, yeah. Mm-hmm. My dad used to like that.
And he would just crank them out.
My dad made a fixture like that for Brodak. He was the chief engineer at Brodak for a number of years, and he made a fixture the same way, adjustable for whatever length you wanted. So.
Are you talking about making both sides of the gear at the same? Or are you talking about the ones that go in the wing, making two of them at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh heck, just do it like Bob said. Put them together.
Just tape them together and bend them, and then you have to, make one go forward, the other go forward the other way. But
my problem, Phil, is getting one first that fits in the wing. It has to be the length between going in the hole into the wing, and then coming up out of the wing.
All right, I'll tell you an easy way. I'll tell you an easy way.
Build your wing after you build the landing gear. Make the wing fit the landing gear instead of the other way around.
Well, the easiest way I know to do it, seriously, is take a piece of clothes hanger wire, a little cheap clothes hanger. Cut a piece of wire. It's easy to bend. Play with that until you can measure it. Put your marks on it. Measure down here. Put the next mark on it. You're going to have a bend. You're going to have a piece down, a piece over, a piece down again. Make measurements and put a mark on it with one of those marker pens. I forgot that Sharpie. Put it in your wire bender and bend it. If it doesn't fit, you can unbend a clothes hanger wire. That wire's soft, and use it again. Or if you don't, you can go to the dry cleaners and pick up 100 of them for $1. They'll give you handfuls of them. But just use it on the cheap wire and get your measurements. Then put those measurements on piano wire, the good wire, and bend it. It's easy. I do things the cheap way.
But the thing is when you're using that K&S bender, remember the wire stretches around that
as long as you put that mark in the same place. Put a mark on the K&S and then put the mark to that mark.
If you just get to a point where you make a few test bends and find out where, let's say you want a 2.5 inch long from the spur piece to the actual leg, right? So you mark it, like Phil said, and then you make a bend. And you can do this with like he said, with the coat hanger wire, and you can see where you have to do it on the pin in order to get the same thing every time. You just got to remember where, you have to put that mark on the pin so you get the right length, so it's not too long or too short. But if you kind of like remember where you have to put that mark on the pin against the pin every time, it'll be the same every time.
Yeah. See, the problem is I bent landing gear about a year or so ago, and after a while I did figure out where I needed to put the wire next to the pin, but now I'm going to have to start all over again, try to figure out where, and it's like having to do this over and over again is so frustrating.
Take a Dremel tool. Take a Dremel tool like I did on mine, and at the bottom I just make a mark.
Yeah.
So I don't forget.
It's usually when the wire comes across. When the wire comes across, right there where at the end of the pin,
right?
The end of the pin, you're going to bend it that way.
Right.
Put the mark right here. Bring the wire in till the bend is right there. Right.
Those are two good suggestions.
I like back it off about a 16th and stretch it and pull it around there. Just
cut off. We'll make a mark on my K&S bender right past the post. All right.
Right. That's what I did, and
I did that with a Sharpie.
The only thing I can't do with my K&S bender is doing a nose gear with the spring in it.
Oh,
3-wind spring. Yeah. I've never been able to do a 3-wind spring. You need a 1-wind, but not a 3-wind.
You need a Brighton nose bender to do that.
You need a what?
Brighton, Brighten, Brighton nose wheel bender.
Oh,
company named Brighton makes a nose wheel bender. You can then make coils.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could. It says that you can make coils. I make coils, but they got gaps in the coils. I can't get them tight together.
Mm-hmm. Now the Brighton bender makes them real tight.
Hey
And
guys,
that's
can I
only
show
for
you
an
something?
RC plane, right? That's not for a control line plane. You don't need a coil in a control line plane, right?
Okay, it depends. If you're going to use retracts, and the retract mount retract is about as solid. You don't have any kind of suspension. You don't have torsion. Then you do need to put a coil in there to take up the shock. So with the retract struts, you really do need a coil. Only one coil is all you need.
Yeah.
Because unlike radio control, we actually land, not just arrive.
Training what you got.
Back when I flew radio control, you had to do a spot landing. You had to pick your spot, and that's
what
where
was yours?
down. And it was scored. And I mean, there was very few people that ever got a decent score in RC.
And what spot did you pick? Michigan?
Yeah, the runway.
Steve got a question.
Yeah,
you flew.
So
you
I
flew.
have something for you guys.
Go ahead, Triton.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. We've been talking about composites and previous sessions. I was showing you how to transfer composite materials to somewhere, using the wax paper. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. That was great. With
Yeah.
the 3M.
So this will be the continuation to that. Once you have the material into place, you have to put epoxy into it so you can hold it in place. So what I've done here already, I mixed my epoxy, and I bought a 2-inch roller from Home Depot. That kind of comes with this tray. You don't have to use it. You can use anything else. A paper plate. You can just drop the epoxy into the paper plate and then just smoosh this over, right? But what I'm doing right now, this roller is way too wet. It's much too wet. Because if I go over top the paper towel, can you see it? How quickly it soaks in?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can see that.
See the paper towel. I can't tell that it's so thin. I'll take your word on it.
Okay. So I can see it changing color, like you put water in a paper towel, right? So this roller is way too wet right now to even attempt to start to do anything with it. This is a good way with a wet roller. It's a good way to add a lot of weight to your plane. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna go like this a little bit. So I'm gonna take a lot of it off and try on a different paper towel. Now it looks kind of dry, right?
Okay.
So, but it has a lot less on it. So right now, what I'm gonna do, this is the point where I feel okay to start to roll it in. And if you look through the, you can see through the light.
Yep.
When it changes color, and I allow the light to bounce off of the material into my eyes. So now I can see very clearly what was wet and what is not wet in here. And this perhaps is the easiest way to, you can apply this technique for anything. Like, for example, for when you fiberglass the nose of your fuselage and you want to put some, you want to wet it out, right?
Okay.
This would be a nice technique because it doesn't add a whole lot of weight, but it does create a very nice bond. And actually, I'm putting a little bit of pressure down on it to squeeze some epoxy out of it because the roller is relatively dry.
Mm-hmm.
If this would be very wet, this foam likes to soak in everything. So, and it really doesn't matter what you're using. If you use carbon, if you use fiberglass, if you use, really whatever composite material you want to use. But yeah, so this is how I do it. I just wanted to share with you guys this technique. So between transferring material and put it in position so it's nicely aligned and everything, and now this is the second part of it. So I'm kind of looking into the light, allow it to bounce towards me, so I can see if I have a dry spot, but you can see it right away because it's nice. You can still see the fibers. Yep. So this side is technically done, and I'm not sure if I can do this. Let me try to. Can you see the bounce, the light bouncing off of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Yeah. How about that?
You see that? So by looking at it from this direction, I'm not sure if I can do it like this. Can you see this? I'm gonna do this corner. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So you see,
Yeah, you can see it.
you see that, Bob? And you also see you also see it changing colors. Okay. So since I did the other side, I'm just gonna put a paper towel here, and I'm gonna have it sit down on top of the paper towel and finish the rest of it.
Okay.
So that's a little something I had for you. I mean, like Bob, you're talking about that elevator that you don't want to bend, right? So you can take that carbon fiber at bias, you transfer it nicely. You don't even need to handle that. I mean, that you can just cut it with the X-Acto knife and spray very little 3M77 right on top of your wood, and it's going to stay in position. And now as you use the roller, you can see it changing colors.
We've used that technique as far back as the 70s. You know, the spray cement and, put it up in the air over the material, and then it's just enough to hold it in place. That's an old technique.
Okay, fine.
But not all of us knew it, Trayan, because I didn't know it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it either.
I know a lot of people that don't know it. I mean, when I hear everybody doing some other stuff and putting a lot of resin into it, then
Trayan, you have to understand.
It kind of tells me like maybe it's not as. I mean, I'm all right. So,
Trayan, you have to understand. You build a few planes a year. The rest of us build a few planes a year. Bob probably builds 20.
I built a lot more wings than that a year, I can tell you that.
Oh God, I know that. But he's up on the latest and greatest. The rest of us aren't. That's the reason this is such a neat thing for you and others to share what you know, because a lot of us don't know this stuff and would never know it if you guys wouldn't share it with us.
Actually, the roller right now, it's about perfect because I have to really, really squeeze the resin out of it. So what I know nowadays is that whatever resin I put in here, it goes to the fiber and to the foam and nothing more. Because I really have to push it down a little bit.
What are you building there?
This is another test bed for the timer, and maybe Alexander plane if he wants to fly it. Awesome. This is a foam wing that Mike gave it to me, and I made like a twin boom, like a humbug kind of setup. Yep. So this looks
a humbug.
Yeah. So yeah. So here you go. This side is also done, and I'm happy with it. Yeah. So the idea is that I don't want to have the resin soaking through the balsa wood, or you don't want to have it soaking all the way through the foam, because it's going to keep going.
Right.
And that's so end of story.
Now, are you going to attach the fiberglass to that center section, or what are you going to attach to it?
It's already done. The center section fiberglass, I put it last time when I transferred it with a wax paper.
Okay.
Right now, I just got it wet. But this is kind of cool. I mean, if you do this over the nose of the fuselage and you use this technique, you're not going to have a lot of resin soaking through the wood.
Good idea, Trey.
Okay.
And again, Bob was saying something earlier about putting epoxy, thin epoxy, warm epoxy on a fuselage or something like that.
Right.
No, the inside of the shells.
Oh, inside of the shells to okay, yeah. But the same thing applies, you know. You can use this dry roller technique, and you're going to have just a film on top of it, and it's not going to soak inside of it.
Well, you want some to soak in because you want some strength. But the thing is, you wouldn't be able to get that roller inside those shells because sometimes those shells neck down to like 3/4 of an inch wide.
You can go like this, right?
No, you couldn't get it into
like that.
You couldn't get it into the shell. In the back of the shells, they're so narrow that wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
You do the whole shell,
but if you can, I mean, what I'm saying, if you can, this is a nice, whatever you can. If you cannot, well, you change the tools, obviously. But
looks like I got to go back tomorrow and look at the early part of tonight's show.
What we do is when we do the molded shells, to prevent them from getting that starved horse look over time between the fibers, if you go and you brush a coat of epoxy finishing resin in and you heat it, and you get it so it's less viscous, as I was describing, and then you wipe it out with a paper towel. You just keep wiping and heating and wiping until it's all out. You want some to sink into the wood because you want some to stiffen it up. But then they're so stiff they'll never get that starved horse look.
Okay.
And especially nowadays, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not using dope on my airplanes at all anymore. There's no dope on the airplanes. And the dope was what shrunk and caused that problem. Now with the materials we have that are catalyzed that don't shrink, we don't have that problem anymore anyway. So
what paint are you using?
I'm using the chroma-based system.
Chroma-based.
They make that in
Hey, but
bronze.
thanks, Brian, for the demonstration. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good.
They make that paint in bronze, Bob?
Yeah.
55-gallon drums.
I got a couple of 5-gallon barrels of it coming, you know. You know, they had what they call Black Friday, where everybody goes everything on Friday, you know, and that's the day the companies or businesses get into the black. Well, I'm going to have a Bronze Tuesday.
Oh, very cool.
Bronze Tuesday, where I sell, you know, I give deals on some of the stuff for Christmas.
Like videos and stuff?
Huh?
Like videos? Some of your videos?
Yeah, the DVDs and plans, and I got a whole bunch of plans rid of, and I got some lost phone. I don't want to make a commercial thing. I got some lost phone cradle sets that I built wings in, and only one wing were built in all of them. And I'm going to be selling those at half price because I'm not using them anymore. I got a Chiseler and a Gypsy and an SV22 and a Trivial Pursuit. You know, I got a bunch of them. 22.
What Tuesday is this going to be, Bob?
Huh?
What Tuesday will this be?
Just kind of type it all up and put it on the Stunthangar. You know, like
Sounds good.
one thing there.
Hey, you guys, Mike wants to say something. Go ahead, Mike. Mike Wonky. Mike Wonky.
Oh, hey guys. Yeah, I'm here. I'm actually building an airplane. I want to show you.
All right.
Not control line. I did get going on the Vector R for Sam. I got the wing together on it, but he really wants a 3D RC airplane for Christmas.
Huh?
So I found him with Flatana. If anybody knows what this is, it's an electric foam wing. Well, they call it a Flatana.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's foam wing, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on right now. And I've got a pretty embarrassing story to share, and I'll probably regret sharing this with you guys. I'm getting into the directions on this, and I go into my RC box to get out a motor and ESC and the proper batteries for this kit. and I go to look for my 2 LiPo battery safes, right? I got 2, LiPo battery safes that I keep all our RC car batteries in and all our RC electric batteries in. There's like $1,300 worth of batteries in this thing, right? Because we got a bunch. I can't find them anywhere in my shop. I look everywhere in my shop for an hour. For an hour, I'm panicked because I cannot find. They're always in the same spot. I leave them in an ammo can in a certain part of the shop, and they're in LiPo. I don't know what the material is, Cordura or whatever, just LiPo safes, soft sided LiPo safes, and I leave them in an ammo can all the time. For an hour, I'm tearing the shop apart, can't find them, and the only thing I can figure is the Amazon guy or the mailman stole them out of my shop because they were sitting out, right? They had to be stolen, right? They had to be stolen. The Amazon guy's an RC car guy, right? And he stole all my batteries because he knew there was $700 worth of RC car batteries there. So for an hour, I'm tearing my shop apart trying to find them. I finally go tell my wife. She walks out in the garage. She walks out in the shop, and she goes, "What are those 2 gray cans right there?" Sitting right on my build table, right on the end of my build table. They were everywhere, but the one place I looked, they were there the whole time. But I'm telling you, I was panicked, man. I was panicked because I thought I lost over $1,000 worth of batteries, man. Can you believe that?
How old are you?
I honestly thought
he's still
Amazon
in his 50s,
guy or the
Bob.
postman snatched my LiPo case out of my shop, man.
He's still in his 50s,
and they were sitting
Bob.
right there the whole time.
Mike, how old are you?
55.
I'm 53.
Yeah,
53.
I tell you, pal, it doesn't get any better as you get older.
Hey, Tryon.
I'm telling you.
Before I forget, everybody. Hey, Tryon.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Tryon.
Happy birthday, Tryon.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
when Mike mentioned his age, I know that Tryon hit 54 before Mike did.
He's another kid.
Yeah.
Sorry about interrupting you. I
So,
forgot
yeah,
about
that was my panic of the day. I'm telling you, I was actually like really scared and freaked out, man. I honestly thought they got stolen, man. Has anybody ever done that? Like misplaced something so bad and then
Just 2 or 3 times this week.
right in front of you?
Yeah, all the time.
About every day.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Hey, Mike,
I mean, my heart sank, man.
this is no shit.
There's 14 car battery packs in there.
I was putting together that yellow Vector and lost the rudder. I looked and looked and looked and couldn't find the rudder. So I finally called Brodak and ordered another rudder. It came in, so I go to put the rudder where I'll know where it's at, and I'll be damned to set the new rudder on top of the old rudder.
So you go one rudder Vector.
Huh? Yeah, how in the hell could I miss that sitting there on the shelf? And I swear to God, I had to look for that damn thing 20 times, and I ordered another one.
Yeah, I understand.
Hey, Mike.
Well, Steve, at least you ordered another one. You didn't call him and accuse him of leaving something out of your kit.
Mike.
That's what I would have done. I'd have been like, "You sold me an incomplete kit," you know? Yeah, John.
When he started out, he sounded just like when we're sitting in the Navy, sitting on the bunk having a jab session. This ain't no shit. But
yeah, this ain't no shit.
Okay.
Oh, swear jar.
I figured it's been so long, I should probably contribute.
Oh, great.
Guys, I'm telling
I got a good one.
if a week goes by and I don't lose something, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And my wife
gotta
always
Google
says, if I want you to find it, I'll put it behind something. Because if I put it in plain sight, you'll never see it. And
I
she's
actually
right.
things in the stove. It's like in my left hand. I'll be looking for something. I'll be switching hands and holding the part I'm looking for. I can't find it anywhere.
So we're all afflicted.
I do. I refuse to say. I always say I haven't found it yet. I never say I can't find something because you know yourself you can't find something. You can be looking right at it, and your brain will make sure that you cannot find it.
Yeah, you won't see
I
it.
always say I haven't found it yet. I never say I can't find it.
Hey, I got
If
something.
any of you guys ever built one of these RC foamy profile deals, electric?
Oh, they're a bitch to build. I quit.
Gotta go.
Look, I just want to show you something. So, like, it's about 10 pieces of foam, right?
Yeah.
But there's about 15 carbon fiber rods in here that got to get glued in.
And all
And
kinds
then
of
you have
yeah.
these are the parts carriers for these things.
Wow.
Man. Look at this. This is this is ridiculous. The amount of plastic that are in these parts carriers. And these are control horns and joiners and Z-bends and servo trays and I've cut out about.
Have you ever put together a
cut out about 15 of them.
used to that by now?
Well, yeah, no, yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I'm having fun doing it, and like I said, this is going to be under the tree for Sam on Christmas. That's the whole point. He wants me to finish the vector, but he really, really, really is into 3D flying right now on his real flight simulator, and he you know, we have RC planes. He can fly RC planes. He's got a glider. He's got a Mustang. He's got a Tower 40 trainer, but he wants to start doing the flippy, spinny stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I got the Flaton out. And I'm like, and I feel bad because I really should just give him the kit for Christmas and we should build it together, right? Like we should build it together.
Mm-hmm.
But I opened it up and I looked at it. I went, Jesus, this thing's going to take me a week to put together, man. I wanted to have it on Christmas morning so we can take it out and fly it, you know? So I'm going to give him a pass on building this one. He's just going to get it ready to go. I don't know. I had mixed emotions about building it and giving it to him as a finished model or whether we should do it together. But I'll be honest, he would have tested my patience cutting all this stuff out and gluing it together. Yeah. So he's just going to get it.
Well, Mike, a lot of those are spare parts for when you crash and break them.
Okay. I hope so. I hope I don't have to use every one of these, man. My God, there's so much stuff in here.
There's something that I really want to say here. Have you guys noticed what Pete has been doing here on our little notice about? Are you aware of the Stunthangar? Or you know he's been putting one of his renderings of aircraft as a wallpaper, and they're really well done, Peter. I really have enjoyed them. So I just wanted to give you a little.
Thank you very much. And as far as here's the preview. That's the one that's going up. That's the one that's going up for this installment.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow, that's pretty. That's nice.
Oh, very good. I love that spinner on that Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mike, I just went to look to see if I still had one of them Fontanas like that I started and said, screw it, there's too much parts, and I had glue all over and stuff before they came out with a good foam CA glue and everything. So I knew where I used to have it. So I go look for the airplane. I knew where I could give it to you. And I found $250 worth of quarters I've been looking for. No shit. I've been looking all over for them and can't find them. I go look for the airplane. The airplane ain't there no more, and there's all them quarters I had.
Wow.
They
Well, it's not a Funtana. I know the one you're talking about. It's called a Flatana. Flatana.
Oh. Like a,
But I know that
Bless you.
there's the Funtana too.
oh, okay.
Well, I tell you what, if they ever come out with one of those that's made for control line, indoor flying, like the ones that if you look on Igor's website, you'll see them flying the things indoor in a coliseum or something. If they ever come out with one of those, I want two. That looks like so much
Phil,
fun.
that's what this is.
That's what it is.
That's all this is. This Flatana is that's what they're using. They're using these 3D profile foam electric and converting them to control line. That's exactly what I'm building right now.
Oh, okay.
Those are the same planes they're using. I'll tell you, they got so much authority, they can go bang, 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 bang.
Oh, I fly
bang.
the radio version in the backyard. We
Yeah.
fly the radio versions, and they're a blast. But I like those.
That's all they're doing is converting them.
Well, that's neat.
Well, Igor was selling the kits for a while. I know somebody over there was making them up, and they'd send them to you all in flat pieces, and you had to put them together.
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything from Igor yet. I'm looking to get the control system and a take apart system and several other things from him. But
the only reason I was going to do it, and because they were making the planes and stuff, and you could buy them, they're cheap. The only reason I didn't do it, the setup for the indoor is the same price as his setup for a 60 size airplane.
Well, that's the reason I didn't buy the little indoor one. Yeah, I'd rather.
Now you're going to have $400 into a little indoor airplane.
Me either.
Yeah, but remember, guys, there's only one hobby:
spending money. Yeah. I love that, Bob.
That's exactly right.
I love that. Hey guys, I'm going to close down the stream. Of course, we can continue on, but it's almost 9 o'clock, and I'd like to close the stream. But thank you for everybody showing up. I appreciate you guys' attendance more than you can.
Charles, I want to say something before that.
All right, go ahead.
So here we go. It's a little something you can do with epoxy. After you mix up the epoxy, what I did here, I added some micro balloons in it. So I'm using this mixture of epoxy and micro balloons, which is super light, okay? And I'm gluing this the spot in place. So that's another trick you can do with epoxy, is laminating epoxy. You can add stuff to them and modify them,
right?
To do something else that they're designed for.
Kevlar, wasn't it Kevlar or?
No. This is micro balloons.
Man, Cavasil.
Yeah, you could use Cavasil.
Yes, Cavasil is good. So right now I put a little bit of extra in there, so it's gonna ooze out as I push this inside, which is it's exactly what I want to have. So there you go, perfect. All right, so that's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And thank you for the demonstration on applying the epoxy with the roller too, Brian. And just to kind of summarize what we talked about this evening, we started off with some of the moments, and Tom and John was talking about that with the real aircraft, and also how we do in designing control line ship. And then Bob was showing this beautiful plane at Arctis Cav 1. I can't remember the name.
TAV-1.
TAV-1. And then we had a little small discussion about hot stuff and Magnolite Type Bond 3. And then I had a question about bending landing gear, which I got a really good suggestion on that. And then, so we had, I think, let me see here, at the height of our program, it looks like we had about 19 concurrent viewers. And we had Jeff Riley, Jack Snavely, and Pablo, the new guy. I think I'm not sure where Pablo's from, but I believe he speaks Spanish on the chat. So pretty good night, you guys. Thank you very much. Now don't forget to like and share and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And also, Sparky has the YouTube membership that started at $4.99 a month, and that helps Sparky offset some of the expenses of running this platform, and we appreciate you guys watching it and liking it. And with that said, I'm going to close the stream, but we will continue here talking until we get tired of looking at each other. But so with that, good night, everybody, and we'll see you again Friday.